Okay, the information provided is for educational purposes and is not intended as medical advice or a substitute for medical advice of a physician or other qualified healthcare professional. We do not aim to diagnose, treat, cure, or prevent any illness or disease, and you should always consult with a doctor or other healthcare professional for medical advice or information about diagnosis and treatment. The information in this presentation has not been evaluated by the Food and Drug Administration or any other medical body. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are in the world. This is Dr. Dori Narbo, and I'm your host on today's call. For those of you who don't know me, I'm a clinical researcher and an author of several books. Welcome to our Tuesday call with Clayton Thomas, who is the founder of Root. Clayton has over 25 years of experience in the health and wellness industry. And for the past 16 years, Clayton's been focused on detoxification and supplementation formulations with a simple philosophy, cure the cause. Hello, Clayton, and welcome to our call.
Dori, thanks for having me. I think this will be one of the most intriguing conversations we've had in a while. So thanks for having me.
You're so welcome. And as you know, today we do have a special guest. And so we'll just go ahead and get started because I'm sure there's going to be a lot of discussion about this. So I'd like to introduce Caroline Mansfield. She has a diploma in naturopath, certified in live and dried blood microscopy. She's originally from New Zealand, living in London, and has over 20 years of clinical experience consulting at the Natural Health Clinic, which she owns and operates herself. She specializes in evidence-based treatments, nutritional therapies, botanical medicine, exercise therapy, gut health, hormone balance, perimenopausal and menopause, weight loss, healthy aging, and she also creates bespoke personalized protocols. She graduated from the College of Natural Therapy in naturopathic medicine and has over 16 years of professional certification in dark field microscopy and is CMA certified. Welcome to our call, Caroline.
Thank you so much for having me. Such a pleasure to be on your show, Dr. Dori.
You're welcome. So I thought, well, I'll just let you go ahead and have the floor. And, but maybe first of all, maybe some people, why don't you just tell us like what actually led you to this field of microscopy?
Oh, wow. Well, I was brought up in New Zealand and I had a very organic upbringing, I think. That's kind of sort of the background of it. We used to eat puppies off the beach, go fishing. That was our dinner. We used to buy fruit and vegetables from the orchards in New Zealand, organic food. It was just a very outdoorsy lifestyle. And I came to London to do a couple of years at school in my in my teenage years. And I noticed a completely different shape of the children here in the UK, and how they didn't want to exercise and they felt PE lessons were really boring. You know, they just tried to skip out of them. And there was I just noticed such a polarity compared to New Zealand upbringing to England. And then I noticed that the shapes of the girls were very different. They had a lot more weight on their hips and they weren't as healthy. So, and they were having a lot of sweets and crisps and all sorts of snacks that we weren't allowed, or we just didn't have access to in New Zealand. So I think that was sort of behind it all, why years later when I became quite sick, having worked in a city for many years, and I ended up with post-viral fatigue syndrome, and no one could really help me. So I went back to New Zealand and saw a top naturopath who was doing live blood analysis. And within 6 weeks, he had me better. And I'd been struggling for about 1.5 years. So I switched my career from sales and marketing to studying naturopathy. So that's kind of how I entered into what I do, because I decided there and then I wanted to help people the way this naturopath had helped me.
Oh, wow. Yeah. That's really interesting. We're going to go ahead and let you go ahead and take the floor. And first, we're going to talk about blood. That's our topic today, right? Yeah. Red blood cells, and then we'll segue back into when Clayton first interviewed you.
Yeah, perfect. Okay, so I mean, we're looking here at a live blood analysis sample, which is a kind of, very perfect sample. When we're looking at red blood cells, these are the bubbles that we see. We want them to be lovely and round and roughly the same shape and size. We don't want them to be attracted to each other. A healthy red blood cell should have a negative charge on the outside. And the job of the red blood cell is to deliver nutrients and oxygen to tissue throughout the body. It goes absolutely everywhere, and to remove waste products. So it's sort of like, the delivery truck and the dumper truck. It's just very important. It's the basis of our health, really. If our red blood cells are working efficiently for us, then we're going to have very good health. And we also, the solution that the red blood cells are floating in, our plasma, that needs to be healthy as well. Blood always maintains a pH of 7.4. But if we get sick and we're eating a lot of the wrong types of foods, a lot of pesticides in them, if we have heavy metal toxicity, if we're just eating a lot of junk foods, then this is going to affect our nutrient levels, which then affect our red blood cells, because our red blood cells are allowing nutrients to be healthy. And if our system is more sort of clogged up with toxins, then our cells are going to hold on to those toxins and heavy metals as opposed to nutrients. So then we can end up with nutrient deficiencies as well. So everything really starts off at cellular level for our health. And that's why it's so fascinating to look at people's blood and help them this way to find sort of root causes as to what's, possibly going on with their health. Yeah. So here we have another example of blood, but as you can see, it's not looking too great. We've got a lot of stacking of red blood cells called rouleau. So when the blood is like this, it's not going to be delivering the oxygen and nutrients sufficiently. Red blood cells are roughly 7 to 8 microns in diameter, and a capillary is about 3 to 4 microns in diameter. So they have to be on their own, very flexible to be able to do the job they've got to do to deliver the oxygen and nutrients and take all the waste products. So when we have the red blood cells sticking like this, we're going to have problems with oxygen. We may feel very fatigued. We're not going to be removing toxicity from our cells very well. So we'll end up sort of toxic. We're not detoxifying correctly. And we have problems with circulation and just maybe feeling the cold more. The circulation's just not getting around the body. So there's a lot of symptoms that we can get when we have rouleau like this. And rouleau can be happening for a number of reasons. And it depends on the overall picture that we see in the blood. We may see other anomalies in the blood, and then we can get an idea of possibly the potential reason for rouleau.
Okay, so here is my blood this morning. I did take 2 drops of CleanSlate last night, but I just wanted to show my before and after blood sample. I'm going to take 10 drops of slate now, and then I'll redo my blood, and let's see. Okay, so here is. Okay, and so just going in for higher magnification so you get a closer look at that. Sort of like beautifully just bouncing off each other, not sticking in any way, shape or form.
Okay, so basically this is the blood samples that I provided for Clayton a few months ago in September, where we're looking at how the blood reacts when we take CleanSlate. And we discussed this earlier, because my blood doesn't have too many anomalies in it. We didn't see a great difference, but what we did see was a zooped up charge in the cells. There's a lot more movement. It's what we call zeta potential. So it just helped with that, just more vitality in the blood, which is quite interesting for just such a short experiment. Yeah. And I think you're discussing this.
Yeah, so this is an interesting article that came out. It's a study, and it's called, red blood cells may be the immune sentinels. So red blood cells are by far the most abundant type of cell in the human body, accounting for more than 80% of all cells. We have somewhere between 25 and 30 trillion red blood cells in our bodies to supply tissue with oxygen. And one recent study found that red blood cells are the immune system sentinels and can actually scan for signs of infection and injury. And the red blood cells can capture suspect DNA from invaders or damaged tissue and alert the immune system of impending danger. So the principle, or in principle, red blood cells would make good protectors of the human body, not only because of their numbers, but also because they penetrate the nooks and crannies of the organs and tissues. And researchers once believed that red blood cells were nothing more than a vacuous bag of hemoglobin transporting oxygen. However, in a study, a 2018 study, researchers determined that the red blood cells harbor a sensor-like, they call it toll-like receptor, it's TLR9, which recognizes and sticks to DNA molecules containing pairs of nucleotide bases, the cytosine and the guanine. And the TLR9 binds the DNA present in the bacteria and viruses and triggers a signaling cascade that leads to pro-inflammatory cytokine response. So what that does is it actually incites a strong immune response. And when red blood cells then they latch onto DNA drifting in the circulatory system, they begin to pucker, like you can see here. That's what's happening here. They're puckering, right? Because they're picking up the damaged cells. So this is really important to understand because researchers state that nearly all critical care patients that are anemic by their third day of being admitted into an ICU. So I thought that was pretty significant. So as blood passes through the spleen, immune cells called macrophages ordinarily devour old and damaged red blood cells. Healthy red blood cells can avoid being cold if they display a particular don't eat me protein on their surface. And if the macrophages consume too many red blood cells, anemia results. So remember, like in many of our other talks, we've talked about that the renewal of red blood cells takes 120 days to replenish itself. But I thought that this article was really interesting because you'll see why in the next slide. Did you have anything to add to that, Caroline?
Yeah, it's just very interesting, that article, because we've always just assumed that red blood cells are just the delivery truck, as I said, and the dumper truck. We didn't actually think they actually actively participated in the immune system. So this is quite amazing, actually, and very new to me, because when we look at those red blood cells that are puckering, it's what we call poikilocytes. And we would assume, we see them when there is infection and toxicity in the system, and we always put that down to lack of antioxidants, basically. But this is throwing a whole new light on poikilocytes, in fact. It's just fascinating to have a discovery like this about the red blood cells. Yeah. Right.
And this puckering effect, which we'll see next.
Yes, which is quite significant because in this photo, this is somebody's blood 24 hours after an injection. So it kind of really does relate to what you were just saying. Now you can see the oxidative stress, which I call it, of the cells, which is the membrane itself just completely collapsing in on itself, which just shows there is a high element of toxicity within this person's blood at this particular site. Now, I took this blood sample from the actual injection site in the upper portion of the arm. So that's just very interesting because I just put this down to the fact that there was obviously toxicity within the injection solution that the blood was reacting to, but there could obviously be more going on than that.
Mm-hmm.
Mm. So when the cells are looking like that, they're just not delivering, the nutrients as they should, or are working efficiently for you. This is another blood sample from a lady. It was 1 month after having an injection. And this lady was presented to me because she has bad circulation, and it got progressively worse, and she was feeling cold all the time. She couldn't warm up. And when we're looking at blood, we're looking at a whole picture. We can't just take, oh, you've got, you know, one anomaly, and, you know, we can't diagnose anything from red blood, from live blood analysis. It's really is, we look at the full picture. And in this lady's picture, we can see that we have rouleau, the stacking together of the red blood cells. So that inhibits circulation. We also have some fibrin formation, which is, it looks like little spider webs, what we call spicules. They usually present themselves with sort of acute phase proteins when the liver is dealing with infection of some sort, or there's toxicity within the system. So we've got, that's number 2. And then number 3, we have platelet aggregation. So this is platelets budding, sort of microclots. So when we've got the 3 together, then we can say there's an element of thrombosis going on with this patient. But we're also looking at, we scale it. We see how much rouleau is there, how much fibrin formation is there, and how many platelets, platelet aggregations are there. Are there mega aggregations as well? So, you know, bigger patches. So this lady has a lot of rouleau in her system. She had mild, really, fibrin formation, and the platelet budding was small across the sample. So, you know, she's heading towards a potential problem with thrombosis. But it was just very interesting to see her blood, considering she came to me for the fact that she can't warm up and her circulation is very, very poor, having, you know, 1 month after the injection.
Oh, this is 1 month after. Okay. And it's interesting because you can see here, this little fibrin is all over here.
Yeah. And also it just depends how quickly it comes onto the sample as well. As another indication of how, you know, how the body is dealing with some type of toxicity as well. And it was present, you know, more or less straight away. Yeah, so it is across the sample. And when we have that fibrin formation, that also causes a stickiness. So that doesn't help with the rouleau. Yeah. And then we have another sample. This is a gentleman, another person, 4 months after an injection. And he has a lot of erythrocyte aggregation. So a lot of clumping together of red blood cells again, which will be inhibiting circulation. If we have a lot of erythrocyte aggregation like this, it's an indication that this person could be heading towards some kind of heart problem, because the blood's just not going to be circulating as efficiently as it should. And clumping together is something that we don't want our blood to be doing. As I said, healthy blood cells should be bouncing off each other and, you know, around the body, doing the job that they're supposed to do. Okay, so do you want me to describe what we were doing?
Yes. Yeah, these are your experiments.
Yeah, okay.
We have several experiments to go over.
So basically, I saw online that somebody had posted up that they had discovered that the capsule of an antibiotic, one half of the capsule, which was the dark color, was magnetic, and the other color, which was a yellow-orange color, was not. And I was quite intrigued by this. So I thought, I'm going to try and replicate the study that he did, or this little experiment. And if it does turn out to be true, then I'm going to put this under the microscope and see what's going on here, what we find. So I dug around in sort of medicine cabinet I had at home, and I found this really old packet of antibiotics. And lo and behold, when I broke open the capsule, I mean, it was already magnetic before I broke it open, but I broke it open, and the dark side of the capsule was actually sticking, you know, attached to the magnet. So it was highly magnetized. So I decided to dissolve it in some warm water, which is what the person did online. And once it was dissolved, the black capsule completely disappeared, because it's just supposed to be a gelatin capsule with coloring in it. But when I put the magnet up to the glass, all these little particles suddenly appeared. which we will see.
Okay, so let me, is there here's something.
Yeah. So you can't see anything there. It's all completely dissolved, just 1/2 capsule. And slowly you can see these little black particles appear, and they follow the magnet like little fish. So I was very intrigued by this. So I thought, well, let's get this out. No, I left it actually. What I did, sorry, I put CleanSlate in the water. And because I thought, let's put CleanSlate to the test to see whether it's able to somehow neutralize the particles. So after 48 hours, I left it in there. I put 4 drops in, and I tried the magnet again. And you can see that the little black particles are very slow now to come to where the magnet is. It was a bit tricky to try and get them to come together. It wasn't instant like it was 48 hours prior with the CleanSlate in the water solution. But eventually a few do come, and we've got a little bit of a pull. So being intrigued further, I thought, well, let's try and take this substance out of the solution and put it on a slide, and let's take a look at it under the microscope, which is exactly what I did. I had to get the black stuff onto the end of my magnet because it was very difficult to get out, put it onto the slide, and I put some of the CleanSlate and that solution onto the slide as well, covered it with a slip, and then put it under the microscope. And this video, then I'm just showing you, this is the first picture that we see of what these little black particles look like under the microscope. So it's nothing I've seen before in live blood analysis. And then I want to show you how is that the same video?
Oh, that was the same, okay.
Same one, yeah. And then I wanted to show you how these little particles are actually moving when I put the magnet just above the cover slip under the microscope. You can see on the screen the bits that we saw moving in the solution are now moving under the slide. So, you know, I went back as far as 4 inches, and it was still, you know, feeling the pull from the magnets. It's a highly magnetized little things. They're very strange to look at. So then I went in a bit closer, and we can see here on the right the ultraviolet crystal. This is one of the clinoptilolite crystals. And then to the left, the green thing is one of those magnetized particles from the substance. And I'm using the magnet again on the slide, so you can see that I think it does begin to move. There we go.
Yeah, right here.
Yeah. So then I wanted to try and find on my slides, has the clinoptilolite crystals attached to any of these magnetic particles? That's what I was trying to find. That, you know, that was part of my experiments for putting CleanSlate inside the solution. So I think in the next slide, there we go. So I hunted around, and then I found it finally. So we can see a clinoptilolite crystal with one of the, you know, magnetized particles actually attached to the clinoptilolite. And I was like so excited to find this because, you know, Clayton often talks about, you know, grabbing sort of particles and pulling them out of the body. And this is a great example of, you know, of what he talks about. And at one point, because the substance, when we're putting water under a slide, it's completely different viscosity to blood, which is a lot thicker. So the water kind of just sort of disperses, and some of it was coming out the edge of the slide. And when I was looking at that under the microscope, it had formed its own little river just towards the edge. It's hard to explain, but there was obviously just some kind of air bubble lock or something. And I saw this piece of the magnetized substance going along, and it was heading right towards a crystal, you know, clinoptilolite crystal. And by the time I was looking at it, and I wanted to try and get it up onto the screen to film it for you. But what I saw through my eyepiece was the magnetized particle went straight and hooked onto the clinoptilolite crystal. And I was like, yes, it works. This is what happens. You know, there's an attraction there. But I couldn't film it in time. And then it whizzed off down, you know, down the little river it formed. So it was a very interesting experiment to do. It was quite exciting to find these discoveries at such high magnification. We can actually see, you know, what we talk about. We've got a visual on it. Now this, for anyone who didn't see the video before that Clayton did, when I put just CleanSlate under the slide by itself, these strange lines formed after a couple of hours. I think, do you have the video to play there?
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay, so this is at 200 times magnification. I just wanted to show you. So I put the CleanSlate on a slide probably about 3 hours ago, and I left it. And I've come back and I can see that all these lines seem to have formed, which I don't really understand. And all the beautiful zeolite crystals follow the line. Can you see? They seem to want to be on the line. If we keep going on, you can see the line I'm talking about, this one here. And there they go, they're on the line. I've never seen anything like this. It's like this. It's a structured line they've created, and they're just so beautiful. I just thought, I took 10 drops myself this morning, and I almost cried because I thought, this is inside me, and they're this beautiful ultraviolet blue light emanating from these crystals. I just thought it was so special. Look, can you see the lines? And then when the line comes to an end, sometimes you just zoom across to another line, and then they're going. See if we can come to that. See if this comes to an end. Yeah, so we've come to an end of the line here. Can you see this? Like, so there's nothing above, oops, sorry, nothing above there, apart from that little one. So if we just go over here, then up, we've got another line, and off we go again. And here, and they're on the lines. Just beautiful and amazing and awesome. A joy to look at.
Caroline, can I interrupt you real quick? Because my compatriot who's sitting next to me wants to provide a little insight.
Oh, I'd love some insight on it for sure. Hello.
Yeah, so I'm a nanotechnologist. So my background is human monoclonal antibodies and infusion. So when you do that, you create a molecule that goes in, and it's very similar when you do vaccines or retroviruses. You program them to go in to communicate with other cells to either change or correct or to look different. We can't make that claim. This is a nutraceutical. Many of you guys know that I also filed for pharmaceutical and biotech when I file my patents, as well as environmental. Anytime I work on formulas, it's not just with my science nanotechnology background or bioscience engineering. It's also with intention. And I know a lot of scientists would not understand that, just like a lot of scientists in the past did not understand the black hole theory and the string theory. which is quantum physics, right? When you create something with the intention and with the process, because it's multiple processes that, which is why there's a lot of people that want to attack, what I do or what the company does, because this process is not something that anyone's done before. It's a process that I utilized vitamin C and different methods around the vitamin C, as well as different energy levels, as well as magnets, as well as polarization, as well as fracking, to create something that could go in to communicate in a not just eradication format. So my goal was not just to get rid of bad things, because all of the CleanSlate zeolite formulas that I had seen, that I had studied, I researched all the patents, I even met with people, they all had different, how do I say this, different missions, right? Different goals in those formulations. And most of the goal was always to get rid of heavy metals in the body. My goal in creating the formulas that I worked on were to also protect the cells against parasites, fungus, bacteria, and viruses, to align the ability of a product to go in and create harmony in a body, as well as to eradicate. So it wasn't, and I talk about this a lot when I do talks, I have to be very careful how I communicate this on this call, because this, again, is not a pharmaceutical, it's not a biotech. This is not an infusion that goes into the bloodstream. However, most scientists understand that if you put something in the nose, if you inhale it in the mouth, if you put it in the ears and different processes in the body, you can get it to go in and be bioavailable, even topically, right, on the skin, which is why we see so many great results with CleanSlate. But what you're seeing in this analysis that you're looking at is really the body creating an environment, an atmosphere of not just kicking the bad things out of the body, but also harmonizing the body so that you create a harmonious atmosphere. One of the issues with our entire inside community, inside this body, is that there's so much chaos going on. And I say this a lot: if you walk into a room and you're hitting a drum or constantly making noise, no one's comfortable, right? If you can create a peaceful harmony on the outside that our ears hear, we all love it. The goal is inside the body to do the same thing. And when I formulated CleanSlate, that was the goal. Clayton launched one of the formulations I had made at the beginning of the root community. It was not the formulation I wanted, because I wanted to add the trace minerals and the vitamin C so that we could do more healing. My concern was understanding that we were moving towards an environment where our bodies were constantly under attack. And it wasn't enough just to defend our bodies, right? Or get rid of the bad things. We needed to create the harmonious atmosphere inside. So it's very similar when you look at the string theory or the black hole theory, time travel, which a lot of people, like I said, dispelled, when in fact in the 1980s, we were already doing time travel. It's just that the general public didn't know that. And I just wanted to comment, first of all, thank you so much, Caroline, for doing this analysis. I know I've not met you in person. I really appreciate it. And then I really appreciate you showing this. It's much better than me talking about it. I want to tell you this: I can't make claims. And so for you to show it and Dory to talk about it, I probably shouldn't be on the call, but I've been listening. And I said to Clay, I just want to say something. And that's what I wanted to tell you all, that you are, people, I love this analysis, because when you look up at the stars and you look up at the sky, there's a huge solar system we don't see with our eyes, right? When you put CleanSlate in your body, you have no idea what's going on. And so you're showing people basically science that's on a quantum physics level that is inside the body. And most scientists don't even know how to look at that. But this is one of the best presentations I've seen, because if you guys can just think about this, this product is something that was created, again, not just for our bodies, but for the land, air, and water. And one of the patents that I wrote that we keep getting attacked about is I even wrote that it goes up to the stratosphere. And those patents did get approved because my goal, again, was to be able to create something that we could utilize here. Some of the classes that I took were around creating life on Mars, because the truth is we can already do that, right? But you have to use things in a different format. CleanSlate has different components in it that could be used in this universe and in many other places. And that's what I'll say to end that.
to hit on just the one thing really quickly. So when you're looking at the lines that form, I was on a chat over the weekend with a couple individuals that provided some insight that I didn't understand, but it's what we hadn't understood before, but Christina just hit on. So when you're seeing the lines that form, and one of the previous videos that Carolyn did, there's multi-layers of lines. The energy aspect of what's created in these crystals is one component. The other part is they're communicating through harmonics. So they're creating different layers. Those harmonics are also what's communicating with cells and with the rest of your body, because you have these frequencies that are communicating. So we use sound. I use sound, actually. And I have to tell you, when I was in the lab working on this, and then later when I sent the changes that I wanted, I've said this many times, I created lots of different formulas. I actually sang while I was doing it. I actually, I know, it's funny in science, as scientists, we understand that music is energy, right? We understand there's different levels of that. My mom just happens to be a classical pianist and cellist. I studied music most of my life. I'm not very good at it. I think I'm a much better scientist, but I really think that was part of it, using, and you guys may or may not know this, but magnets and polarization, actually, musical theory applies to that. I know that sounds very odd, but when you look at musical theory and you look at mathematics, they're on the same wavelength, which is why most of you musicians, I'll give you an example using my own family. My mother had a full scholarship in classical piano. She also had a full scholarship in statistics. My grandmother had a master's in statistics. And the reason I'm bringing that into play is, for whatever reason, that's how my mind thinks. So when I worked on this particular format, it was really incredibly important to me to, again, create something that, when you think of eradicating, you think of destruction. And right now, what's going on in our world, unfortunately, there's a lot of destruction. What my goal was in this formulation was, during that destruction, right, during that eradication, to create harmony within the body, so that you could cause the energy levels within the body to line up so that they would work more effectively together. Scientists understand that a lot better when you talk about pH levels, right? Or microbiome, or different things that have to do with acid levels or CRP or whatever they want to use. But from a perspective, and Caroline, again, I just want to tell you, thank you very much, because you bringing this to light and talking about it, you're correct. This is not something typical to see. This is not something that, most people will see. Another argument, I think, is, or from my viewpoint, it's not an argument. My goal was to create a healing with the silica. And that's why I say all the time, yeah, this started with a zeolite, but it's no longer that particular path of a zeolite. It has a much bigger purpose, and it is to eradicate and heal at the same time. I just can't make those claims, especially because they're my formulas.
Yeah.
And now we'll take you back to your regularly scheduled programming.
Well,
Carolyn, the floor is yours.
My biggest thing is to say thank you to you and Dory for presenting this, because, again, I'm not going to talk much more because I have to be careful. But I did know, Clayton actually knew, I don't know if he's talked to everyone when I did the formulas. And by the way, people have said to me before, was Clayton there when you worked on the formulas? I'll tell you this, I asked Clayton to leave. I said, can you please leave? Because I was trying to concentrate and do a lot of things that I really knew I needed to do that most people would think was weird, right? And most people would not understand. It's very easy for us to understand singing to our children so they'll go to sleep, right? But for some reason, it's hard for people to understand the energy levels of incorporating all those different things when you're doing science. But I do, and that's why I always say I'm an artistic scientist, but none of it matters. The art doesn't matter. The creation doesn't matter unless it helps people. And one of the biggest things I believe is if people can wrap their arms around how this is helping them, it will give them hope, and it will help their bodies even more energetically heal and correct. And I guess that's the final thing I want to say. And, you know, again, our goal is to be the best version of ourselves that we can be, because none of us are more important than the other person next to us, but we need to be the best version of ourselves in this journey. And that's the goal of this product, to make each person the best person they can be, but starting on the inside. And then of course that will reflect on the outside as well.
I think what's so amazing is to see it on such, you know, a microscopic level, so people can understand it, you know, from what you're saying, and now you can see, because seeing is believing, right? And it is just so unusual and so different and so special to be able to see this, you know, for people, because you don't often get the opportunity to see something at a microscopic level, what you're taking into you, and especially you've done all this work on this product, and it shows. I replicated the study again. If you got the slides there, Dory.
I was just so mesmerized by that slide, and I was thinking like, wow, this is like your cellular star system. And I was just thinking like, I wonder if everyone, like, because when we were talking about the patterns yesterday, and I was thinking like, I wonder if everyone has a different pattern, like how, you know, like your pattern's different than my pattern or Christina's pattern. And remember, I talked to you about the music, like let's play some music when you do it, just to see what would happen. We talked about the vibration and stuff like that. So I thought that was interesting. What you were saying, Christina, thank you so much for bringing some understanding to it. Okay, so here we go.
Oh, so this is I did the experiment again. So this is left for 12 hours, just yesterday. And you can see the lines formed again. So it wasn't just a one-off, you know, this happens, these lines, amazing. And then another video just to show you another area on the sample. And I remember when I did the first sample talking about music, I had stuff playing in the background, which was Kundalini music. And I think there was more lines that formed when I was playing the Kundalini music even. But I was trying to think back, and just triggered my mind talking about that, Christina. And when I left the sample for 12 hours, I didn't have any music playing. So it's going to be really interesting doing some music experiments with Dr. Dory. Yeah, going forward.
Yes.
Yeah, so this was the amazing example of one of the crystals. It looked like, I believed it looked like Starship Enterprise, and just all the colors coming off it. Just that ultraviolet is the main color hue. And you can almost see the force field around it, where the other particles kind of stay away. Let's see the negative charge. I think we've got some other shots where it's a bit further away. Yeah, and you can see the pull around it. It's just very, very unusual. I'm just used to seeing blood, so the whole thing's been quite fascinating, to be honest. And it's just wonderful to have you explaining exactly possibly what's going on, Christina, because, you know, I'm at a loss. I just know blood under a microscope. I don't know. I didn't really know what I was looking at, so it's amazing.
You're good.
Okay, thank you. Sorry, I was talking earlier and Clayton had me on mute. I was trying to talk to you, Caroline. No, yeah, I think look, there's been tons of studies about music and healing and the power of that, but really it's because of the vibration and the energy levels, and obviously spirituality and intention. I talk about this a lot in FDA trials, where we would look at things. you can't report on that, right? You don't report on nutraceutical supplements, nutrition. You don't report on spirituality or singing or any of that stuff. But we do know all of that plays into it. And going back to your question, yes, that will look different in each person's body because of how their DNA reacts to it, how their bodies, even their pH level. That's why I say it's a different journey for each person, and how they will help, clean the body out and provide it and protect, and also give the body everything it needs. And to me, people ask me all the time, what's the most important product that you have worked on? And this is definitely one of them, because I say constantly, if you can't create that environment in the body, you can't get rid of bad things, and you can't create a peaceful environment. It doesn't matter what you put into it, right? And so it's beautiful to me that you've captured that. And I would be very interested in seeing that with different people, and also seeing how the different, I grew up hearing Mozart and Beethoven. That's not what I used when I worked on this formula. Actually, someday maybe I'll share with what I used. But I remember the exact music. It's some of the music I sing to my children as well as to the animals. Clayton's right. I sing to our animals every day. And not that I'm good at music, but it's the energy behind it and the levels behind it. But we did use a lot of other factors, of course. So thank you for showing this and for describing it to people so they understand a little bit about what's going on. Because I think what you've done and showing this to other people, there's a lot of people in this world that will resonate with that. Even people we met with this weekend that are on a very high level politically, as well as from a healthcare perspective, will resonate with what you have shown. And I don't think they would have thought about doing it. So again, I really appreciate you doing this for the whole community.
Yeah, no, it's been a wonderful experience. So yeah, I'll just keep on doing it to see what else we find.
Yeah, I'd love to see what happens with some of the other products we have as well. We can talk about that later, but again, incredible what you've done, and our ability to be able to translate that to people, I think, is the next step.
And the other thing too, Caroline, we discussed that we're going to go ahead and follow up with those other three case studies that you are working with. So just to, because they're on the CleanSlate.
On the CleanSlate, yeah. So we'll follow up with those and see what we find. Yeah, definitely.
Right. So I'll send you some case studies reports that you can get them to fill out, and then you can follow up, and then we can revisit that a few months later.
Yeah. Excellent.
Okay, then. Clayton.
Is there more? I
That's
want more.
Lori, it's an hour.
I want more. We cannot stop here. Everyone's like, okay, I need this on video. And I'm like, yeah, but I want more data. This is, I think everybody can get a pretty good idea now after seeing this. Carolyn, thank you. And I can't wait to see what the follow-ups. I think there's been a bunch of questions with those initial slides that you took of people's blood work, what happens once they've been on CleanSlate. So that's what we're going to see a follow-up on, correct?
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. I think the CleanSlate and Restore. So yeah.
Do you have anything to add?
No, I think we just need to look into it even more. And I'm hopeful for a couple of additions that I've actually made. Sorry, I always try to say we because I feel less guilty when I say we when I do a formula. She's
gonna own it. She's actually stepping into owning that.
I always like to share anything I make and say we, but I did an additional formulation and utilize some stuff to help get rid of alcohol and toxins in the body that are detrimental, like drugs and alcohol, right, for the organs. as well as helping the body to really get rid of fat and cellulite. That's one of my goals with one of the formulations that I recently made, and I'm hoping Clayton will launch it next year at Root, but we'll see if he decides to or not. We already have outside people that want it. I'd love to have the Root community have it, because it is basically, I never want to get rid of this current formulation, but the next formulation I added a lot more to help on a different level, because my goal will be to alternate as the bodies get clean. So you can do different things. It's kind of like hearing music. Again, I'll go back to that, and wanting to hear more and more music, or traveling with the string theory or through the black hole. We know how to do that, right? But we continue to find progressions in that technology. And that's my goal with this, so we can continue to better our lives. We know we can live to be 130. It's a fact. It's not fiction. But we've got to make our bodies the vessels that can do that. So that would be
we know we can go longer than that. There's stories of guys building a boat at 600 years old.
Exactly. But we know now in the current state, we can live to be 130. But yeah, people used to live to be 600.
Can I go with you?
I don't know where we're going, but Dory.
I'm going. You and I are going.
I'm with her. You go, I go.
Anyway, through this work, as we all do this together, we're going to find more and more progressions to look younger and younger. I swear, Dory, you look younger than when I met you. So that's all I'm going to say.
Well, Claire's not on here, but Claire looks like she's modeling again at 18. I mean, it's not fair. And that's the one thing that I've told people, is to go back and look at some of the previous videos that we have on the YouTube channel, where you'll find this here very soon. I'm going to make sure Dory gets this uploaded with our team very, very quickly, because greatest video ever. But if you go back and look at some of the previous videos, go back a year and then look at, the community on here, you'll notice that a lot of the same characters that have been here don't look like they used to. And that's, I mean, you can look at like Dory's hair, her skin, everybody. My hair is much, much better now. My skin's better. You do, and we've seen this clinically, with different forms of analysis on top of what Carolyn's done. Using these products biologically makes you younger. So get younger as you. No, we actually can make that claim, because we actually have proof. We have.
Oh, well, so what I want you guys to do, everybody on this call, so send me before and after pictures, before you started and then after, so we can so I can create our year-end video. That would be so cool.
Oh, there we go.
Yes. Send them to me so we can see the difference, and that would be fabulous.
And she's wanting photos of your face.
Yes. Oh, yes. Face only.
We don't need any other images.
Oh my gosh. No one thought that.
Harry, this is for you. Only face photos.
Don't worry, we're gonna take that out.
Yeah. They should go to ISNS, right, Dory? Or where are you having the case studies go?
Yes, they should go to ISNS.
And to your ISNS email?
Oh, yes. Yes.
Or are you having them sent to Tiger? I don't remember, and I apologize. I shouldn't do this.
Oh, yes, they can do it. They can send it to Dory, DORI at Science Nutrition Society.com.
Put that in the chat real quick so everybody can copy it.
We also have, I think, admin. I was trying to.
Verena made a post that other parts of her body have changed more than her face, and now everyone's like, send me pictures.
Oh my goodness.
It gets awkward real quick.
No one was awkward about that.
No, they're asking. So.
Yeah, but Verena, you're right. The cellulite, it definitely helps. We just have not done case studies on that. So Dory, I would love to get some case studies on the cellulite.
Well, and for everyone to understand on cellulite is basically fat pockets, that are developed, and you have to understand what the fat is a mechanism for, which is storage of toxins. So as you have these metals that will congregate into areas, the fat will use to store those. And if you look at the inverse, as you start to remove those metals and toxins out of fat stores and such, and this is where that long-term, consistent, passive detoxification approach is what we're doing. As that process goes on and you're able to slowly remove these toxins from different areas, the fat cells will shrink back to their smaller size because they're not needed, and the cellulite goes away. But that's also why, if you're doing other detox methods or other fat loss methods, the only way you actually lose fat clinically is through liposuction, where if you actually suck out the fat, and that's the worst thing to do. So if you slowly remove the toxins, your fat cells will shrink up and they won't show, right? They're there for their purpose, which could be energy storage or toxin storage. But if you give them very little to store, they shrink. And if you do other methods where you flush a lot of those toxins back into your bloodstream, they'll circulate through your body. We don't have the mechanisms to naturally excrete all of those metals, so they will get re-sequestered in new parts of your body or go back to where they were, which is why people end up adding weight back on after they've had large losses. Sometimes they add more because what you've created is a cytokine storm and an inflammatory response where the inflammation actually kicks up more than what you had before, which means you gain more weight, which is not what you want. So we do it a little bit different.
Caroline, thank you so much. And Dory, I was here for most of this call. I just want you to know I was just being silent.
It's okay. Thank you. Thank you for coming and sharing your knowledge and your wisdom. We appreciate you. We love you. We love our community. And thank you everyone for coming on the call today, showing your support. I think it's just great. And thank you, Caroline, for sharing this amazing, what you're finding in your lab, and it's just so impressive.
Yeah, thank you. Thanks for having me on. Yeah, I look forward to doing some more because it's such an interesting product to work with.
Absolutely. So I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to put on the gallery view so we can all say goodbye. Perfect. All right.
Oh, hold on. Kirsten's got her hand raised. Kirsten, do you have a question or a comment?
Yes, not a question. I want to I want to tell something very funny. Last year, there were workers on my ground here, and 2 men. And I opened them the door, and then the one of them told me or asked me, but last year there were an older woman here.
Oh.
And I said, no, that was me. And that is about CleanSlate.
I love
And about Restore.
We need before and after pictures.
Oh, I don't care who you are. That's
I
funny.
love that.
That's funny.
I wanted to tell to you because that is funny, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't care who you are. That's funny.
Really cute, isn't it?
That was good. All right, everyone.
But the funny thing is I'm 55 years old. And they thought I'm in the middle of the 30s.
Well, and this is an important part to understand is biologically, you probably are mid-30s now. I mean, and we've proven that. I think this will be the fun part for everybody to start doing some analysis.
I'm getting younger every year.
Absolutely, every day, actually. And that's really the fun part is understanding that what we're making everybody younger. Thank you for hanging out.
Do you think Dory?
Oh, well, no, because
Okay.
She doesn't.
Dory, we love you.
I love you more than he does, but okay.
Yeah, of course, because you are love. She says that. She's like, I love you more. I'm like, yeah, because you are the personification of love. I can't compete with that.
No, because I love her more.
Oh, I love you more.
Just going on the record, Dory.
Okay.
This is what we need to do. We
went to an event last night for ovarian cancer, and Graham Smorgan went with us, which we're doing a podcast with him. He is, but he wears sunglasses the whole time. His wife is actually one of my really good friends, Annabelle. She's a doctor from Vanderbilt. And everyone was stopping them to get their pictures at the event because he's on the Grammy board. And
he's nominated for another Grammy right now.
Nominated for a Grammy album of the year.
And he probably has the greatest zero-in testimonial I've heard. We actually have it from her interview.
Yeah, we'll have to show it.
It will be something you guys can share because it's going to be posted here pretty quick. But
you should cut it and put it on your Dory's call.
We've already done it.
He literally said he's never had another product in his career. And again, he's on stage in front of 10, 20,000 people in Africa, Grammy award winning, Emmy award winning, reggae singer. And he just said he's never done a show more than like an hour and a half. He did 2.5, almost 3 hours because of zero-in.
He's never gone more than 2 hours in a show. And I told him when he went down there, because he flew from here in Nashville to Africa, 24-hour flight to do one show. And I told him, I said, bro, take 3 capsules before your show. And he's like, why? I'm like, because you're probably going to have the longest, most amazing show you've ever done. He's like, I've never gone more than 2 hours in my show. I'm like, yeah, you'll probably go 2.5 hours.
He said he didn't even realize it. He said at first he thought he didn't feel anything. And then after like 30, 45 minutes on stage, he was like, wow, I have so much energy. Clayton loved it. I did the interview. Clayton didn't know he was going to say that. But after Clayton saw it, he was like, oh my gosh, we have to show that. So we'll have to show that, and you and Dory could do a clip of it and talk about it.
And this is the fun part. And we continue to go over this. And I'll tell you this, I was at this event over the weekend. We had multiple speakers there, but I had an individual that is considered the most influential chiropractor in the United States that was speaking at this event. So I got to meet him for the first time. And I was like, hey, you want to have some fun? He's like, yeah, I always want to have fun. I'm like, great, here's 2 capsules. Take these before you go speak. Because he was going to go speak in 10 minutes. I'm like, have you eaten today? He's like, no, I fast. I won't eat until dinner. I'm like, perfect. Take 2. Let's see what happens. He took 2 capsules, went, did his speech, got done. I'm like, how'd you feel? He's like, dude, I've never been so focused in my life. I could see Fibonacci numbers on top of everyone in the crowd. I was so calm and so focused. This is absolutely amazing. I'm like, yeah, that's only 2 capsules, bro. And he's like, I need more of these. And there's your sign. So it doesn't matter if you're a musician, if you're an athlete, if you're an artist, if you're a kid, if you're an adult, if you're a parent and you have kids and you're not taking multiple capsules a day, you're missing out on being functional again.
Okay. Love you guys and thankful for all of you. And this was the fun.
He's petting the deer.
I want to come to a fun call next time. This was fun.
This is what happens when we all get together.
These are how our calls are.
Yeah. That's why
I think we're a little too stressed out on the ones I'm doing. I'm like, I need to bring Clayton into ours, like, to make me laugh.
Oh, we get to have fun together.
We could try.
What? We're going to bring you in on the science call?
This is what happens when we bring the reindeer.
Oh my! He had this on, Ted. Look. And then he made a comment you don't want to hear. Okay, let's get Austin. What do you think he made a comment? Yeah. Ted goes, stop.
No, it was not a Dory. This was not a stag party.
Oh boy.
Wait, where's Ted? He's hiding back in there.
He's hiding.
He's hiding behind you. All right, so they're gone. Okay, everyone. Thanks so much for coming, and see you next week. Bye-bye.
All the best. Take care.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice evening.
Thank you, Caroline.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.